Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a few updates to get to here. We've got the big debate snafu with Kamala Harris coming out now and saying that she has accepted a second presidential debate. I talked about this earlier today. I didn't even realize how ridiculous it actually was. So they're saying they want to debate on October 23rd, which would really only benefit Democrats considering they get more mail-in votes and Trump would only have downside with a debate that late. She's not even being serious about this. The only thing this is, it's a pure optics move. It's so they can say, oh, Trump is scared to debate, when in reality, Trump agreed to 3 debates. She was so afraid of Fox News, she didn't even show up. Trump had to do a town hall instead. But now she's like, oh, I want another debate, but it has to be on CNN after I already got so much help from the ABC moderators. This is just ridiculous. You've got Caitlin Collins, president. I mean, it's literally CNN is allowing the Harris campaign to use them as pure propaganda. This is a totally disingenuous debate offer for October 23rd. If you were serious about this, this debate would be held in the first week of October at the latest. This is a total joke, and they just want the narrative to be that Trump doesn't want to debate me. He's afraid, when we all know that Trump, he put out probably the best proposal you could with 2 liberal networks, ABC and I believe NBC, along with Fox News. It was 1 conservative network, it was 2 liberal ones. She declined, and she said, I'll do 1 debate originally, and that was the NBC debate, but I'm guessing her internal numbers are a lot worse. Why else would she want it to debate again, other than maybe also the idea that it's very little downside considering they're trying to have this second debate on the 23rd of October, which again would benefit Democrats more than Republicans because you'd have more Republican day of voters. Democrats, a lot of them vote early already, so it wouldn't even matter what Kamala Harris would say. It would be really inconsequential and only offer her upside to possibly steal Trump voters. That's the dynamic at play. And so now it's going to be, oh, Trump doesn't want to debate me. We all know that you backed out of the Fox News debate. Why do Republicans have to bend over backwards for these people? Trump has to go on CNN with Biden. Trump has to go on ABC with Harris. Now she wants him to go back on CNN. There can't, God forbid, heaven forbid, I think the earth will explode before one of these liberals does a conservative network. Although I think Newsom actually did, although that was not a presidential debate. That wasn't even it was just a random thing with DeSantis. But either way, when it comes to this, don't fall for it. It's totally ridiculous. Trump offered 3 debates. She declined the Fox News one. She was afraid to go on Fox. Trump went on ABC, even with the moderators admittedly against him. Let's remember that Trump campaign declined CNN debate that was accepted by Harris. We've got John Fetterman coming out and saying that he thinks this was because he came out and said he thinks Trump's probably going to win Pennsylvania. He's getting a similar feel, the same thing with Hillary back in 2016 when everyone was saying she was going to win. I mean, it is the same erroneous polling. He's right. When you've got Quinnipiac coming out and saying she's up by 5 in Pennsylvania and she's leading people over the age of 65 by 8 points, it's totally inaccurate polling. That's just not correct. It's not going to happen on election night. So he is right. It is kind of reminiscent where you get these leads where it's like, oh, she's up by 5-6 points. It's total crap. We all know it. Even if she were to win, it'd be like by a point or less than that. Although certainly I don't think she's going to win Pennsylvania. Harris' campaign has accepted the CNN debate. She's getting desperate. Trump should not give her this debate. And of course, Trump has already said, no, it's not happening. You've also got, per a source in the Harris camp, they are worried about Virginia and New Hampshire flipping on top of losing Pennsylvania. So Virginia, we've heard about. There was that poll that came out a few days ago that had her only up by 2 points. If you brought everyone in, including RFK Jr., she would only be up by 1 point. And there's also shifts apparently happening in New Hampshire. There hasn't been many polls coming out of New Hampshire, but it is 4 electoral votes, and it could matter. I mean, that would be an 8 electoral vote swing if she ended up losing that state. So we'll have to see. Certainly Virginia is the bigger prize. It's getting all the notoriety, but there is definitely some worrying within her campaign about the internal polls, not only apparently out of Pennsylvania, because that's been rumored for a while now, but also Virginia and also New Hampshire on top of that. And then we also do have Pennsylvania, Florida, North Carolina have all seen a rightward trend in mail-in voting requests compared to this same time in 2020. Democratic vote by mail request advantage over the GOP plummets in key states during the 2024 election. And so I do want to kind of explain the dynamic of this and say that certainly this is good news. It is good news. But there was also a higher propensity for normal, everyday, perfectly healthy people, specifically Democrats, to be a little bit more afraid of the pandemic. And you'd get like 25-year-old, 30-year-olds, 35-year-old perfectly healthy people that are more likely to be liberal voting from home because they were told to do it, as opposed to Republicans with Trump saying don't do the mail-in voting in 2020. He didn't trust it. So this is good news, but it doesn't surprise me that a lot of those people, the dynamic here is, it is good news, but there's also the idea that a lot of the people that were perfectly fine, there was nothing wrong with them in terms of their health, they were fear-mongered into staying home, and now they're like, all right, we don't have to do that anymore because it's 2024, it's a different time, the pandemic's not here, and so that's also some of it. But this is good news. It is good news, but there's also the dynamic of there was just a lot higher propensity of just perfectly healthy liberal people staying home as opposed to pretty much all the Republicans going to the polls. And now some of those liberal people are saying, well, it's not just the old people that vote by mail. At least that's not how it happened in 2020. Some of those people are saying, we don't have to do this anymore. We can go ahead and do the in-person voting because it's a different time in 2024, those same healthy people. So there's a few different dynamics at play when it comes to it. But certainly this is good news. In North Carolina, that is pretty crazy going from, and I know you're comparing you're comparing Republicans versus Democrats. So you might say, well, you're also talking about Republicans and their 2020 mail-in stuff versus 2024. But the difference is there wasn't as many perfectly fine, perfectly healthy, young Republicans in 2020 that stayed home. So it's not like you're going to see a crazy decrease in 2024. Normally people that vote by mail, they're older, they don't want to go to the polls, they've got something, going on. It's just a little bit different. It's not the fact that we're seeing a bigger decrease amongst Democrats is certainly good, but it was also expected. So there's a number of things you have to pay attention to when it comes to that. Now, does this it's just impossible to quantify. Will this actually say, oh, Trump's going to win these states? No. Certainly he's going to win Florida. We know that. I think probably by at least minimum 8 points. Minimum. That's very conservative. I think probably 10 points. North Carolina, I think he's going to win by 2 or 3. And Pennsylvania, I think he'll win. But I'm just saying when it comes to this, because of the way the 2020 election was done and the different viewpoints of both parties when it came to mail-in voting, that's why you were always going to see a significantly more decrease amongst Democrats, because they had younger people that were scared in 2020 that are saying we're not going to do this now, as opposed to Republicans. Pretty much all the young people still went to the polls in 2020. That's just a dynamic to watch when it comes to that. And it's certainly, it's like, oh, it's not a guarantee that Trump's going to win because these numbers are looking so good with the Democratic decline in mail-in ballot requests. But it is good news nonetheless when it comes to that. And also, it's very key to understand, especially in a state like Georgia, we want a little bit of a lower turnout election. I think there's no way that a Democrat can win Georgia without absurdly high turnout numbers, especially in the Atlanta area. That's it. They have to get so many low propensity voters to turn out, and they got it in 2020 with their ballot harvesting operation. It's not going to happen again in 2024. I think that state is almost unwinnable for Harris based off of the dynamics in 2020. Remember, that is an SEC Republican type state. You've got Georgia, you've got Alabama, you've got Arkansas, you've got Missouri, you've got Tennessee, Mississippi. It's in the same mold. It has Atlanta. It's got a bigger, city that's why they were able to capitalize on it with the population center. But just in general, if you get a little bit of a lower turnout election, there's no Democrat that's winning that state, especially no one like Harris, who didn't even participate in a primary and is viewed generally as a weak candidate. An October 23rd debate would happen after so many people have already locked in their votes. It's quite literally only to get Dem enthusiasm up in person, absolutely, because you're going to get more Republican in-person votes. That means that was such a disingenuous request. I said it was absurd, and then I realized the date was October 23rd, and that just adds to it. If you actually wanted to debate against Trump and you wanted to put on your big girl pants, why not do it on October 2nd on Fox News and make him decline that? But no, you go really late into the election cycle after all your people have voted by mail, so it can really only benefit you, and you got to do it on your liberal network, CNN. So you see the dynamic here and how ridiculous it is. This was just weird. Wow, this parent confronts a teacher about the school having a Kamala Harris day. So yeah, they had a Kamala Harris Day, and this lady, this aide's like, oh, it's because of Black history. I mean, maybe this was a. I actually don't think. I think this was recently. I mean, if they're talking about this.
I wouldn't want another child coming in wearing an impeached Trump shirt. Does that make sense?
Okay, but you guys are having a Kamala Harris Day.
Yes, and it's in honor of Black History Spirit Week for Black History.
Okay,
Black History Spirit Week, so we have to have a Kamala Harris Day at an elementary school.
you're making a political, like that's it's not Black history. It's you're making a political statement.
I'm not sure how I'm making a political statement.
Kamala Harris Day. She's the current vice.
Is there going to be a Donald Trump Day? Maybe if there was a Donald Trump Day. Unearthed video. Kamala Harris vows to pass the Green New Deal and ban fracking. Oh, and she says in this clip with Fallon, she's like really into banning fracking, and they like all clap for her at the end, like the little seals. They clap for her in this clip, and it's just so hilarious how she like when they bring up banning fracking, she always says, I didn't believe in that in 2020, when they literally, CNN went through the records and she never said that she didn't want to ban fracking in 2020. But she keeps saying that, oh, whenever anyone brings up fracking, she's like, in 2020, I changed my thoughts on that. Well, no, you didn't. CNN looked it up because you said it during the interview with them that you had changed your mind in 2020. And she's just changing her mind on basically everything. And she has to, because she was running in California, very far left. She was voted according to a independent model on a website that tracks this. They track all of the political leaders, their leanings. She was voted the farthest left person, and based on her viewpoints. So now she has to do all this damage control, and she's not even the one doing it. Anonymous aides do it for her. That's the crazy thing. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.